If you thought that you were done with the subjunctive, you were wrong. This video is about the imperfect subjunctive. The imperfect subjunctive is used the same way you use the regular subjunctive, except you use the imperfect subjunctive when you want to talk about something in the past. In Spanish 3, you learned about the present perfect subjunctive, which is used to express subjunctive in the past, but it's really not as common as the imperfect subjunctive. So if the imperfect subjunctive is more common than the present perfect subjunctive, and they both express subjunctive in the past, why in the world did I wait so long to teach you imperfect subjunctive? It's because the conjugation is very complicated. There are 3 steps. The first step is to start with the ellos, ellas, ustedes form in the preterite tense. The second step is to drop the on at the end of the preterite ending. The last step is to add the appropriate ending. The endings are right here. These are the imperfect subjunctive endings. It's important to note that there's an accent on the syllable that comes before amos in the nosotros form, and that there's no accent on the vosotros form. It's also important to note that this is very similar to the present tense AR verb endings. So you have to be really careful that you follow the 3 steps so that you end up with the right conjugation. Let's do some examples together. Here's an example with the verb hablar. We start with the ellos, ellas, ustedes form in the preterite tense, which is hablaron. Then we drop the on, so we end up back with hablar. And then we add the appropriate ending. In this example, I don't know what the conjugation should be because there's no subject, but you would put hablará, hablarás, hablará, habláramos, etc. Just by looking at this example, you might think that you can just add the imperfect subjunctive endings to the infinitive, but I'm about to show you that's not true. Here's an example with the verb escribir. You start with the ellos, ellas, ustedes form in the preterite tense, which is escribieron. That's different from the infinitive. You drop the on to get escribier, and then you add the appropriate ending. Here's another example with the verb beber. We start with the ellos, ellas, ustedes form in the preterite tense, which is bebieron. Then we drop the on to get bebier, and we add the appropriate ending. Let's say this time that I want to conjugate in the nosotros form. The correct ending would be bebiéramos, and I put an accent over the syllable that comes before amos. Just to make sure that these imperfect subjunctive endings are totally clear, here is the verb jugar conjugated in the imperfect subjunctive. Jugará, jugarás, jugará, jugáramos, jugarais, y jugarán. Here's some great news about the imperfect subjunctive. There are no irregular verbs. There are only irregular stems. In other words, any verb that's irregular in the preterite is going to be spelled a little bit differently in the imperfect subjunctive. But all you have to do is follow the 3 rules of conjugation and you'll always get the answer right. Just as a reminder, the subjunctive can't exist on its own. You can't have a sentence that's only conjugated in the subjunctive. The subjunctive can be found in clauses that are attached to regular sentences. But we'll talk more about the uses of the imperfect subjunctive in later videos.